Welcome back to the Mr. Verzace podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Verzace himself, Rick Reeno, and joining me today is one of the biggest names in the sport, the destroyer himself, Conor Benn. Conor, last time out, November, Tottenham, massive audience, big rematch. Take me back to that moment.
Yeah, I mean, it was special. I won the second fight, but the first fight was a fight that was the most exciting for sure, and I'm glad that we could deliver that sort of entertainment to the public. But the second fight for me was all about redemption and staying disciplined and calculated and making sure that I secured the win.
What were the proper adjustments that you made heading into the rematch? Did you review a lot of tape of the first fight and say, okay, I could do this better, I did too much of that?
Less emotion. I think I fought with rage, I fought with heart, and I wanted to inflict pain on the guy. And that was what I done. For me, there was a hatred there. For me, it was just about hurting him. It wasn't even really about winning the fight. Round on round, it was just about going in there and taking his soul, which I did do. The second time round, it was about staying disciplined, using my boxing brain, my boxing agility, speed, hand-eye coordination, footwork, feints, sharp off the counters. But the footwork was important in that fight, because I know his footwork ain't that great. And I should have used my footwork in the first fight. And that was the game plan for the first fight, but I was undisciplined. And I let myself down in the first fight.
When you had him going towards the end, did you think at one point you were on the verge of the getting waved off?
I thought he could have got waved off.
Yeah.
He was done. He was finished. And then the bell went and it saved him. So, it would have been nice to have got a stoppage, against the middleweight in Chris. But ultimately, for me, I was more happy about staying disciplined in there, because there was one moment in the fight where I lost my head for maybe 30 seconds, and then I had to re-regulate and calm myself down and just stay disciplined for the 12. It's sweet. That was sweet for me, because a lot of people say, he's a hothead. He can't do this. He's just one-dimensional. He's just a fighter. He's going to be the same fight. And it was like, well, cool, I'll show you I can box.
Now, I know after the fight, some people made, some of the critics said things about the weight and things of that such, but you've always said, listen, if you signed the contract, you can't cry afterwards after you signed the terms of the contract, because you also had to move up.
Move up too.
Yeah.
Right now I'm sitting below the weight we fought at. I'm about 157, which goes to show I'm not a middleweight. I'm not a big guy. But ultimately I don't mind challenging myself against the bigger guy if it makes sense and it's commercially right. And for me, I didn't mind jumping up 2 weights to give this fight to the public and win the fight that I thought I could always win. But yeah, the weight, it was a narrative he pushed. He made 160 for a journeyman in Saudi.
Yeah.
He made 160 for a journeyman in Saudi Arabia. For a journeyman. Do you understand? Where he maybe got paid 5% or 1% of what we got paid.
Yeah.
He didn't push the narrative about his weight then, did he?
No.
He didn't push the narrative as to why he lost the Liam Smith fight.
Nope.
Or the second Smith fight. So it was a narrative that was pushed really well. And fair play, it done its job, because everyone's there thinking it's a weight issue. He's too small for 168, ultimately.
Now, how did the family rivalry play into it between your dad, his dad? Was it anything of maybe like a boost on your shoulder? You got to win over a Eubank?
Yeah, definitely. It's sweet. It's sweet, because it was the last fight was a draw. It's one apiece, really, isn't it? No, it isn't. How many? They fought twice. Second fight was a draw. So listen, it doesn't really matter anyway. That's history. All that matters is the last fight.
As far as getting back down, how has been the transition to get down back to 147?
Joe, I'm disciplined. So over the Christmas period, been doing a lot of running. I was away for Christmas with my family in Switzerland. I was running 16 kilometres, running 12 kilometres in the freezing cold. And for me, it's just a matter of staying consistent and staying disciplined throughout that period. Where most people would put on weight, the work starts now. The work doesn't start 8 weeks before a fight or before a fight's signed. You know, I have a full-time chef for me cooking now who's helping me get my weight down. Daniel Sargent, he's been working with me for maybe 8 years. But now he cooks for me full-time and I'm able to really focus on getting my weight down. It's being disciplined now that makes a difference later.
You've talked a few times about the WBC belt, a belt that your dad once held.
Yeah.
To get that belt, is it more to you about like following in your dad's footsteps, or is it just something, a personal side quest for you where I want to grab that belt first?
It started with my dad, of course.
Yeah.
You know, seeing the green and gold belt for me was a belt that I saw in my eyes as a young man as the belt that all the greats had. It was the green and gold belt, and that was my views on it. So the WBC belt for me is the most prestigious belt in boxing. Yeah, you know, for me, in my opinion, it's the best belt there is. You know, so, and that's down to my personal opinion, and that's down to also my dad winning that title. And for me, it's just following in the legacy. And for me to be able to achieve that, you know, it'd be a blessing, and it's a blessing I've been made number one mandatory for the WBC World Title.
Trust me, when you get that one on your mantle, your opinion's going to change. There's a big difference in weight.
I'm glad you said when. I'm glad you said when.
You know, that one's on the mantle. Your opinion will change on which belt you should have there.
We'll see. God willing, I have them both.
Yeah. And like you said, you're the mandatory. You're in line. February 21st, Mario Barrios is defending his belt against Ryan Garcia. I assume you'll be ringside?
I will be ringside, yes.
And what's your take on the fight?
I think Ryan Garcia is great for boxing. I think he's a liability. I think he's a loose cannon. I think he's unpredictable. Could say unprofessional. But ultimately, he's sheer entertainment. Gifted. He's got great hand speed. He's athletic. He's young. You know, so he's good for the sport of boxing, and I would tune in to watch a Ryan Garcia fight. But when you have them qualities mixed with someone who's, you know, has true Mexican blood, you know, fights with heart, fights with pride, and fights for his country, and fights for something more than clicks and views. You know, it's hard to pick who's going to win. You know, really, you think Ryan should win, and Ryan should win, really. He should. Will he?
Well, I mean, he was a massive favorite in his last fight over Rolly. Some people don't even rate Rolly, and Rolly dropped him and
he's a strong
handedly beat him.
Yeah, he's a strong fighter, Rolly. Rolly's a good fighter. But the way Ryan was built and coming off the win that he come off on, you know, you can sort of tell the life that he had been living in between the fights, because it has its toll. You know, and going through what he went through, his whole case and everything that he went through, I understand the pain. And everybody handles it differently. Mine was more public in the way I handled it with my emotions. You know, maybe he was just as emotional, but behind closed doors. Maybe he couldn't handle it and, you know, had to party. That was his way of getting out of his... I understand, you know, but unless you have good people around you who can support you and a good network, a shoulder that you can lean on, you know, you can make bad decisions. And ultimately, you know, maybe, you know, he wasn't training. He wasn't in the gym. And it showed it in his fight against Rolly. Let's hope this time it's been very different since he's lost to Rolly.
I know Eddie Hearn has said, and a lot of people agree, commercially, if Ryan were to win, you and him, whether it's here, whether it's in the UK, one of the biggest fights to be made.
Yeah, I agree. I think Ryan's a character. I think he does good numbers. If Ryan does win, you know, no doubt we can make Ryan at Wembley in London in June, July.
After you beat Eubank, just to circle back real quick, you had called out practically everybody in the weight class. You said you're ready for them all. Devin Haney, who now is the WBO title, Ryan, Barrios, Rolly. Is the first step the WBC title, and then you want to get every single one of those names, as long as they're viable and...
Yeah, listen, for me, I'm not going to put all my eggs in one basket and bank on Ryan winning.
Yeah.
Or even wait until then.
Yeah.
You know, we could do the Rolly Romero fight in May at the O2 in London. And then the winner of Garcia Barrios, you know, in June, July for a unification. You know, so or we just go to Rolly and then, fight the winner. of Barrios Garcia. God willing, it's Garcia. But then if Garcia wins and he's ready to go Cinco de Mayo, or he's ready to go in June, July straight away, I'd hold out till June, July to do it at Wembley in a stadium in London.
And what are your thoughts on welterweight division as a whole? It seems to have changed significantly since Crawford went up. At one point, people thought maybe Jaron Ennis would be the man, and then he went up. And now it seems to be a little bit of a free-for-all with a lot of guys moving up from 140.
Yeah, boxing's shifting. Boxing's changing. It's constantly moving, a lot of spinning parts. For me, yeah, I mean, it's definitely changed, but you're talking about the cream of the crop in the division. Right now is the Haneys, the Garcias, the Romeros. They're the best currently right now. And I believe I'm up there with them, and would beat all of them.
Now, you turned pro really young, I think 19.
Yeah.
And you had major hype around you, especially father being a legend. How did you handle that, like mentally, when you're walking right into the ring from the very first fight, the cameras are all on you? Yeah,
I mean, that was what put me in good stead for now.
Yeah.
Because I can walk out to a stadium of 60,000 and feel nothing, apart from excitement. Whereas when I had my debut in front of 20,000 at the O2 or 19,000, I couldn't tell you how scared I was. I was absolutely petrified, but I wasn't ready then. But having them fights early on and feeling the pressure of having to be a legend's son in a game where, I'm silver spooned, in a game where, I'm never good enough, in a game where, no matter how good I do, I will never be as good as my dad, in a game where, people think I'm silver spooned, and had it easy. So it was hard. It was challenging for me to understand the sort of mindset back then as a kid. But as you get older, you just sort of, you get used to it. But listen, no doubt, you must have your fair share of stick and haters and doubters, no?
Oh, plenty of them.
Exactly.
Plenty of them.
But when you're a kid, you don't know how to process it. Do you understand? As you get older, you sort of go, who cares? I'm sitting there, I'm Mr Verzace with my gold chain and my fur coat. But I didn't have that mindset then. I have that now.
That's why I got these two guys right here. Any of the haters ever try to run into the podcast, these two guys will give them a proper ramming.
Don't worry, bro. I'll take care of them for you.
Exactly. We got triple the backup right here.
Bring them.
Triple the backup right here. But I agree with what you said. When you get older, when you're younger, a lot of it gets into your head. You want to fight everybody. As you get older, I start thinking, I'm like, this guy's probably in his mom's basement somewhere.
But even if they're not, even if whoever it is, there's no haters that are hating doing better than you. Because ultimately anybody can say what they want to say. I don't even know your name. I don't even know who you are. I'm going to still jump in my Rolls Royce, drive home to my mansion, to my beautiful kids who go to private school, and relax and live life and chill. And that's what I've done for my kids. Irrelevant to what the haters say. Yeah. I am where I am because I done what they couldn't do. I am where I am because I stayed true to myself and my plan, and I stayed focused, irrelevant of all the hate and the doubt that fueled me to get to where I am now. People say delusional. If you watch my first fight, my first couple of fights, if I said to you I'm going to headline Tottenham Stadium twice and sell it out and be number one mandatory for the world title, you'd laugh.
Well, I think you showed me something early on. You had one fight in particular, and I've pretty much watched every fight you've had. There was one where you had a real firefight where you got really rattled in the fight.
They get put down.
And I've seen other, during my time, I've seen plenty of fighters' kids attempt to make it. Hatton's kid, recently, for example, and most of them don't make it. Or some of them start to make it, like Chavez Jr., and they just lose their way.
Yeah.
That fight showed me something where I said, no, this isn't just, some legend's kid who says, I want to put on the boxing gloves and make $1 million too.
You're going way back.
I said, when you're able to get off the deck and overcome that kind of adversity, I said, no, he's got something. There's something there where I think he might be able to go to the next level.
That was that fight made me, again, who I am. Because you don't know if you have it until you have to prove you got it.
Yeah.
You don't know. A lot of fighters can talk, and I can do a good job at convincing you I'm a bad man. I can do a good job of convincing you like I'm a bad boy fighter, and I can talk it, but it doesn't mean I am. You know, so until you prove it, you ain't about it. Until you've shown me you've got it. And for me, that fight showed me I'm not silver spoon. I am not just a Nepo kid. I'm not just a privileged kid who had a privileged upbringing and went to a Christian school and sung in the church choir.
You sung in the church choir?
I did. Not that I can sing. I did, yeah. I did sing in the church choir. I played the guitar. Yeah.
I don't think I could picture you playing the guitar.
I mean,
not after your last few fights.
Yeah, I played the guitar, and I used to love like listening to like heavy metal music, Guns N' Roses. Yeah. But yeah, so I had to prove to myself, and that fight done that for me. It changed my perspective of myself. That I actually am a fighter. Like, I love this. This is what I am. I got put down twice heavy in the first round, and come back to put him down twice in the last two rounds of the fight to win the fight. Because if I didn't put him down, I would have lost the fight.
You know, it's funny because I remember from the minute you even announced that you were going pro, they were talking you and Chris. Yeah. How long, how many years and days and months did you have to hear about that fight? You know, even before you entered for your first fight, they were already saying, I remember all the British papers were writing, this fight has to happen now. You didn't even get in the ring yet.
It's crazy. It's crazy because I remember it clear as day. It was the only fight that was spoken about. Everybody spoke about the fight. Yeah, imagine you and Chris one day. You got to remember, we're like weight divisions apart.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was thinking, I'm like, at that point, I think Chris was already, he
British
may have been
champion.
in 68 for that super...
But he was British champion, fighting at 168, fought George Groves. You know, I was it's bizarre. That's all I can say to you. Is, you know, it was... If you talk about stars align...
Yeah.
If you talk about what's for you won't pass you, what's meant for you is meant for you. That's that. Because ultimately, you couldn't make it up. You couldn't make it up. I also couldn't have written it better myself. You know, so I trust God to pave my career and lay out, even when things get sticky and tough, even when it gets hard and you don't know why. I could not have written it. I could not have sat down to you and gone, yeah, this is what's going to happen. You're going to have fight of the year, an incredible fight that goes down in history, going to sell out a stadium after all that adversity and controversy, to then come back and win it so convincingly and display a beautiful boxing masterpiece, to then now being made mandatory for the WBC World Title. All I've got to do is win that. And then I could sail off into the sunset quite happily. Financially, I could now.
Yeah.
But win the world title and I could be like, yeah, see you later.
You know, a lot of sons who've had a famous father boxing never really step out of their father's shadow. Do you think at this point you've gone right out of that shadow, you're your own guy?
No. I think for me, I'll always be my dad's son. You know, I look in the mirror and I see my dad. You know, I don't want to ever... I don't ever want to be separated from my dad. I don't mind being in his shadow. You know, and people saying that, oh yeah, you'll always be your dad's son. Or I'm like, my dad's an OG. Do you know what I mean? Like, what would you, like, I'm not even talking about boxing, like, or the Hall of Fame or the legend. I'm talking about my dad just being who my dad is. Yeah. I am him. I am a product of my dad, even in the little ways, in my mannerisms, who I am, the way I think. You know, I just look at my dad and sometimes we just laugh because we're just so alike. So for me to be compared to him or even be in his shadow, even carry the name and fly the flag for the Benn family, it's a blessing. I'll always be my dad's son. I will never accomplish what my dad has.
Well, I've noticed you're unique, that type of thing, you embrace it. It's never bothered you. But with a lot of other fighters, especially, I don't know if it's the pressure or if it's constantly being compared. They sometimes might stop you in your tracks in an interview and be like, listen, my dad's my dad. I'm me. He's had his thing. I got my thing. And they don't want like the comparison to be there. I
think when you idolize a man and he's your hero, you don't mind. When you idolize a man and you go, yeah, he's everything I want to be. He's achieved everything I want to achieve. He's He's made me who I am. He set the bar high for me. You go, why would I want to, deflect it, being my dad's son?
Yeah.
Into me being my own man. Ultimately, my dad paved the way to be where I am today. Yes, I've had to put the hard work in, but he's installed the morals in me. He's installed discipline in me. He's installed work ethic. He's installed resilience, mindset.
Now, when you went pro, was there any advice that he gave you beforehand, or did he even try to stop you from boxing, saying, listen, you don't want to get into this, you have other talents, you have a head on your shoulders, maybe you might want to go into that?
What other talents would you think I had?
I don't know how good you were scholastically. You played the guitar.
Yeah,
you were in the choir. Maybe you were a singer.
People would pay me to not play. But
I've never heard you sing yet, so I don't know.
No, we're not going there. I'm not going to give you an example either because it's no good. You'd pay me not to sing. You'd be like, yeah, we're cutting now. But no, it was an accident. I didn't plan on being a professional fighter. What happened was I had from 17 to 18, I had 20 amateur bouts, just 17 to 18. 18 to 19, I didn't box at all. 19, I come back to England and I sparred a hot prospect at the time, a guy who was up and coming, good fighter. And we just went down to, me and my dad went down to Tony's gym to see Tony because him and my dad used to go out back in the day together.
Yeah.
And I ended up putting this kid down. Never put a kid down before in my life. And then Eddie was like, we want you on the next AJ bill. And here I am. But my dad knew my mum before my dad had even met my mum. So this goes way back before I was born. My dad and my trainer used to hang out, and my dad trusts my trainer. We work as a team and we're you could say like family. We all trust each other in order to get to where I need to get to. I listen to my trainer. I listen to my dad. But my dad communicates to me through my trainer. So my dad would tell my trainer what he wants me to work on, and my trainer would tell me.
So does that keep your relationship strong? Because you see a lot of father-son breakups in boxing over the years because the father gets just a little too involved in the camp, in the training, and even talking in the corner.
Yeah, so you see boxing, see if I said to my dad I'm unhappy, he couldn't give a shit about boxing.
Yeah.
He couldn't care about boxing. He don't care about boxing at all if it compromises on my happiness. My dad cares about my life, about if I'm happy, about me as his son, about how my life's going. Boxing's secondary.
Yeah.
It's my dad cares about me as a man, about being a man of God, about being the best man I can be, about not getting swayed by the devil and the evil pleasures of the earth. He's my dad is evil desire, should we say? He's my dad's cares more about me as his son, as a man, as a father, as a nephew, as an uncle, as a cousin. He cares about me in that regard. Not over boxing. Boxing is my life, but boxing's for now. What about in 5 years' time when I'm done and retired?
Well, you never know if you'll be done and retired in 5 years.
What do you think?
It's hard to say. Canelo told me like 7 years ago he'd be retired like 2 years ago. He's still going.
I think that's the problem. Yeah, who knows? Might be in there when I'm 50 still.
It's hard once you reach a certain level of paychecks and those paychecks keep coming on the table and you say to yourself, I could still beat that guy.
I mean, if I'm still getting paid, I'll happily clean up. I'll happily still fight. I'm not even going to lie. Yeah.
Right now we're in February. It's the start of a new year. You look like you're fit and ready to fight right now. If you could map out the perfect 2026, how would you map it out for yourself?
If I could map it out, it would be another stadium show. And it would be winning a world title, specifically the WBC. But, if the WBA against Robley has to come first, then that comes first. Ultimately, it's win a world title and do another stadium show. That, for me, sounds like a pretty good year.
Now, I'm sure you'd like to have at least 2 this year, 1 to win, 1 to make a defense.
Yes. That'd be an amazing year. I'd like 3, really. But ultimately, I understand the big fights take a long time to make.
I know you don't want to wait too long. So is there a certain cutoff point in your mind of, I got to get back into the ring by this month?
Let's see where Barrios Garcia is at. Let's see how that fight plays out and see if we can get something locked in straight away. You know, because if Garcia wins and we've locked the fight in for June, July, and it stayed at Wembley in London, I'll wait. But I'd have to know end of Feb before I pull the trigger and go, do you know what? Let's just do Rolly.
And that's a wrap for this episode of the Mr. Verzace podcast. I want to especially thank Conor Benn for joining me today, and the Verzace podcast security, which is here making sure that nothing goes wrong and nobody runs through the door trying to disrupt us. And until next time, stay sharp.